Yo! Welcome back, Wolf Gang. This is the Fantasy Fixers Podcast, and I'm your host, Winston Wolf. Like, comment, subscribe. We're currently at 85 subscribers. There will be a giveaway at 100 subs. Let's go over a couple things we learned from week 2, along with the absolute best waiver wire picks of week 2. In what world would your healthy, rushing title winning running back go from 31 carries to 9? For Jonathan Taylor to have this kind of usage is just criminal. This is a case of you playing against your little brother in a video game, and he says, all you do is the roundhouse kick. You can't beat me if you don't do that move. So you get upset, and you prove to little Jacob that you're not Ted Ginn. You're not just a one-trick pony. You stop doing that move, and little Jacob kicks your teeth in. The Colts simply need to do what has worked. Don't prove a point to your little brother. Hand Jonathan Taylor the doggone ball. Without Pittman or Alec Pierce playing, it's nothing else to talk about when it comes to the Colts. I was wrong. I avoid players after they have an Achilles injury like the plague. But James Robinson looks healthy, agile, and he's the leader of this backfield. He nearly doubled ETN snaps, 45-26. Robinson ran 16 routes to ETN's 14. So I can't even say ETN is the passing downs back. All you can do is sit ETN at the back of your bench, get him a blanket, give him a nice pillow, and tell him to get comfy because this is going to be a long ride. Christian Kirk, my fantasy sleeper of the year. 6 for 78, 2 touchdowns, start him every week. Amon-Ra St. Brown is this year's Cooper Kupp.
Are you sure about that?
Let me explain. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win a triple crown. He's not going to lead the league in receiving. But he's a 4th to 5th round pick that's going to be a top 12 guy this year. He is on an absolute tear. He has 8 straight games with 8 receptions or more, 6 games in a row with the TD. He's on fire. He was on 23% of championships teams last year. He was on more teams than Kupp. That being said, he's Cooper Kupp Jr. If Wentz is going to throw the ball 45 times a game, he can sustain all 3 receivers. Possibly 4 if you include Logan Thomas at the tight end spot. Nick Chubb, no receptions, no problem. He doesn't care about catching balls because all he needs is TDs. Now, I slightly avoided Chubb because I was afraid of Hunt stealing all the passing downs. Nick Chubb couldn't care less. 17 carries, 87 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Is Amari Cooper a thing? Maybe. I just think his route running is impeccable. But good luck knowing when to start him. Flacco is on pace to lead the league in passing attempts. How crazy is that? Now, I'm not wishing a player would stay away from the game because of an injury, but I'm wishing Zach Wilson stays away from the game because of an injury. Garrett Wilson is a thing and should be your number 1 wide receiver ad. I have no idea what this looks like when Zach Wilson is back throwing dimes to the opposing team. But fantasy is all about winning one game at a time. So if he can help you win one game, we're talking about Garrett Wilson, it's worth the ad. Miami scored 28 points in 1 quarter. You give Tua time in the pocket, and with the speed of these receivers, how could he fail? This team is just too fast. We're starting to see Mostert to take over this backfield. At least that's what it looked like last game, which I'll get into later. Tyreek and Waddle both put up 11 receptions. Reek with 190 and 2, Waddle with 171 and 2. And Mike McDaniel is playing Madden out here. He's playing the game how it should be played. Put the ball in your best player's hands and watch magic happen. Lamar is back. Not sure if they know this, but the price of his contract is going higher and higher. I thought they were going to pay him at halftime. Lamar threw for 318 and 3 touchdowns. Ran for 119 and 1. This backfield stinks. Not even sure if J.K. Dobbins can be trusted once he gets back because it might still be a committee, and I don't see how it's not. Rashad Bateman got wheels. 75-yarder to the crib. Andrews is back. It was only a matter of time. 104 in a TD. The Steelers' offense is trash. They might as well throw Kenny Pickett out there. Deontay Johnson is the only player to put out there with confidence. The Pats' offense smells just as bad. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe with Nelson Aguilar. The player to own of this receiving core is Jacoby Myers, who is quietly balling. Baker Mayfield is a wide receiver killer. Trade DJ Moore. It's over. It took a wide open TD for him to get double-digit points. Sterling Shepard is the only receiver to own for the Giants. The rest of these receivers can be sent through the moonroof. Kenny Golladay is running routes like C-3PO. How about them Cowboys? Every single week, the NFL shows me how little I know about betting odds and predicting winners. I can admit I know nothing because you couldn't have told me the Bengals wouldn't have blown the doors off like the big bag wolf. Instead, Cooper Rush did enough to win the game. Cooper gets the ball out of his hand, is in a hurry. Zeke is looking he's looking average at best. I'll be nice. But it's not totally his fault. Losing Tyron Smith and your left tackle and losing your QB certainly makes a difference. Noah Brown, the wide receiver of the Cowboys. Yeah, he's a thing. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 91 yards, and a TD. We see this from time to time where the backup QB has chemistry with the wide receiver 2 and 3 of the team. Burrow is looking shaky so far. He needs to bounce back like a stripper that just had a baby. Chase had a mediocre day, but I'm sure he will bounce back next week. All right, those were a couple things that we learned from week 2. But now we're at the waiver wire section. QB ads of the week from last week were Carson Wentz and Marcus Mariota. That hasn't changed if you're streaming QBs or you're in a bind where you had Trey Lance or Dak Prescott. Wentz would still be my number 1 option. But if those guys are already picked, then the number 1 ad is Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions, and he's 4% owned. The offense is clicking, and he has too many weapons, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god. Swift, Chark, Hockenson. The reason I give Goff the edge over Jimmy G is because of the matchup. They face the Vikings next week, and if you watched the Vikes play the Eagles last night, their defense is for the taking. The number 2 addition has to be Jimmy G. Trey Lance went down with a disgusting ankle injury that'll put him out for the season. Insert Mr. Reliable. I was on the Trey Lance train just because of how I believe in Kyle Shanahan, but this makes all of the skill positions a hell of a lot better. We don't have to go through the growing pains of Trey getting used to the NFL speed or figuring out who is the best target. Go and get Kittle if you can secure him for the low. It'll be worth it if you can get him for peanuts. There is only one running back to add this week, and it's Raheem Mostert of the Dolphins, who is 33% owned. He operated as the top running back against the Ravens. And we all had Chase Edmonds ahead of him because we thought at the very least Chase could get all the running back targets out the backfield. Mostert led the team in carries, 11-5. He had 3 catches to Edmonds' 1. Do we know if this is a change of the tides? We really don't know. But like I said last week, you can't miss out on a starting running back who you think will own the backfield, like Jeff Wilson. And on top of that, if you can recall, Mostert and McDaniel were at San Fran together. So he brought him over. And I don't think it's because he thinks he's handsome. Because Mostert runs like he's shot out of a cannon. You just have to hope that he can sustain and not get injured in the process. But if he stays on the field, he could be an absolute animal. Now, the rest of the running backs that are almost like honorable mentions, they're just handcuffs. You can't start them with any confidence. That's Tyler Algier, Rachaad White, even though I think you should own Rachaad White if you have Leonard Fournette. I don't think Fournette can carry on with getting 30 carries a game. It's only a matter of time. I hate to say it, but it just is. And I'm not saying he's going to sustain like a major injury, but he's going to miss a game. Like, his nickname is Uncle Leonard. You can't expect someone to have the nickname of Uncle and they play 17 games. Darrell Williams, if you own James Conner. We don't know. We haven't seen any reports to say how bad the ankle injury was, but you have to get Darrell Williams if you own James Conner as your handcuff, just to have a starting running back if possible. Actually, I do have another running back to add. That's Brian Robinson of the Washington Commanders. Now, this will only work if you have an IR spot, and it will cost you nothing to plug him in and go grab another player. All right, let's get on to the wide receivers. The number one wide receiver priority is Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets. 24% owned. Now, I don't know what this looks like when Zach Wilson returns. But like I said, you're trying to win this 1 week at a time, so go get Wilson. In 2 weeks, he has 22 targets, 12 receptions, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And he leads the league in red zone targets. Top 10 in targets, and he hasn't even played all the snaps. Jets are leading the league in pass attempts, as crazy as that seems. The number 2 wide receiver ad is Curtis Samuel. But he should have been picked up last week. I had him on my list last week. He has 20 targets, 15 receptions, and 2 TDs on the season. He's probably not available when he's 70% owned, but just in case, make sure he's on your roster. The number 3 wide receiver to pick up. Now, I wouldn't put in a waiver for this player. I would wait till after the waivers claims go through, then add him. It's Jacoby Myers of the Patriots. He's 36% owned. At this point, nobody wants to own a Patriot, and I understand it. This will be a super boring pickup. This is Brandon Cooks Jr., but he has 19 targets over 2 games. He's a solid wide receiver for PPR leagues. He's not going to score a TD. He's allergic to them. But he has 13 targets and went 9 for 95 last week. He's a great flex play and should be rostered. Now, this is a case in point of why you pick up running backs whenever you can, because it'll always be wide receivers to pick up on the waiver wire. I could easily add about 3 guys to this list. Sterling Shepard, Noah Brown, Josh Palmer, just to name a few. There will always be wide receivers to pick up. Not so much for running backs. So whenever you get the chance, you should do so. Let's get on to the tight ends. Gerald Everett and Hayden Hurst were on the waiver vid from last week. But if Everett is picked up, go and get this tight end. Irv Smith Jr. of the Minnesota Vikings should be the number 1 priority. Forget about what happened last night. You won't have to worry about Kirk Cousins trying to pick on Big Play Slay. He was locked on to Darius Slay like Damon was locked in onto Rhaenyra Targaryen at her wedding. The coaching staff said Irv Smith was basically a decoy in week 1 and would be involved in week 2, and they weren't lying. 10 targets, 5 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Now, even without that TD, it's not a bad day going 5 for 36. I started Cole Kmet, and I tried to kick him off my team at halftime. I tried Devontae Davis him off of my team. If you have Cole Kmet, drop him out the moonroof, please. The number 2 ad is Evan Ingram of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Somebody has to catch the ball other than Christian Kirk. In week 2, Ingram had 7 catches for 46 yards. If you know anything about the Doug Peterson system, you should know he enjoys using the tight end position. The DSTs to add, the Chargers versus Jacksonville. You can honestly use them 3 weeks in a row, in which they play Houston and Cleveland after that. The Cowboys versus the Giants. And the Chiefs versus the Indy Colts. If they can stop the run. Like, if they don't stop the run, it might get crazy. But you got to expect the Chiefs to go up big and force Indy to throw, which is a recipe for disaster right now. This concludes the picks of the week. Make sure you hit that sub button if you're new to the channel. Hey, good luck on the waiver wire. I'm out.